Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the Life Reset 5-Day Challenge, day number 2. My name's Austin. You just saw the intro that we're planning to use for the show, which we'll talk more about that later. I'm joined by Mama Mo, the co-host for this amazing summit. Hello, Mama Mo. How are you feeling tonight?
I am excited to be here to talk about the subject. I'm excited to be back home in Maryland after being in Montana at a women's retreat this weekend, which was absolutely spectacular. But I'm excited about the topic tonight of uncertainty. How are you tonight, Austin?
I am doing well. I was so motivated. We'll talk a little bit about yesterday. And let me welcome in our guests before I share how I'm doing, because the guests listening to this, you are important. You found this for a reason at a specific time. And if you're getting this for the first time, welcome. If you were on the show last night, welcome. I want to let you know, and you know this, Mama, but we're streaming. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're going out to Apple TV, Amazon Fire TV, Roku, all through E360 TV, which is my partner. We're going to actually have Aaron on tomorrow night. He's going to be joining us. He's the founder of E360 TV to talk about that. So I'm excited to be able to distribute this, to reach you wherever you're going to find it. And after last night, we hit self-care. We'll talk. So if you missed last night we really hit self-care. And it really got me. I'm very diligent, but I need to learn and grow. And tonight, I left you a message. I'm going to the gym because I typically work out every morning, but I need to get back to the gym. So I said, I'm going. Marlon inspired me yesterday. I'm back in the gym today. So that's what I did. My body feels great. And if your body doesn't feel great, hang in there. We'll cover some of that hopefully today. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, self-care too. Like for me, I didn't get a chance because being in the airport yesterday was really super crazy. But for me, it's my AM routine. You were just talking about exercising. I get those few moments, those couple hours first thing in the morning, all to myself, where I get to pour into myself with my affirmations, my meditations, my workout, those sorts of things. It's so important for me to set my day up in that way. And then today, uncertainty, get to be able to talk about that. It's going to be exciting. So let's do this.
Yeah, and I'll share a little thing I did in my morning routine that speaks to uncertainty so we can grab these insights today and check in. I want to check in with our listeners. If you were on last night, let us know. Yeah. Did you listen last night? We got Rich on here. Rich has been on. Rich is getting a lot. Rich is sharing a lot. Rich, we're glad to have you back with us tonight. Jose is in the chat tonight. Hey, Jose, how are you? We're glad to see you. And of course, he's like, go Maryland. There we go. Maryland in the house. So that's exciting. Michelle is with us tonight. Welcome, Michelle. We're glad you're here. Michelle always has great things to share, and she's always eager to learn. And she watched most of it through playback, which you can do, by the way, and hopefully we'll share those links. Last night was inspiring and motivating. And she's saying daily habits make the difference. Anilda, who hopefully will join us later this week, Anilda has an incredible morning routine. As a matter of fact, if I go back a year and a half, Anilda was laying on the Rocky steps showing me her routine. So that's how amazing Anilda is. And she's amazing. So we got some great guests. If you're listening anonymously, get a notepad. We want you to get something from this. And I do want to share a little highlight from last night before we bring our panel of experts who are patiently waiting backstage. So if you missed last night, here's one of the highlights from last night. Jim, quick tip. We'll go quick tip, and then I want to get back into your story.
Sure. Yeah, I think a quick tip is, it may be surprising for people to hear this, but it's okay to say no. Right. It's all right, because it starts there. When you talk about awareness, Austin, so often we're aware of our kids, we're aware of partners, we're aware of friends and neighbors and everyone else around, but we're so unaware of ourselves. And I think it's important that we realize it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no. Love that. If you have been seeking a life change, this is for you. Join us every day when we stream live at 7 p.m. from Monday, February 27th to Friday, March 3rd. If you missed the previous day, go to my YouTube channel Austin J. Haynes. Subscribe, turn on your notifications, and you can also see the previous day's recording. This is your time. Join us for this exclusive event and spark your own life reset. So we're glad you're here. That was Jim, dropped a great bit of insight, knowing to say no. Going into that last night, Mama Mo, I wasn't thinking about saying no as a part of your self-care. But now that we listen back to it, how poignant is it?
It is. It's setting those boundaries. That's the best thing that you can do for your self-care, is to make sure that you set those boundaries, because we talked about pouring into ourselves. We can't pour from an empty cup. And a lot of times we give and we give and we give. And when we don't say no, we end up pouring from an empty cup. And then we feel depleted. Then we feel like we're not getting the things that we need and pouring into ourselves. And so setting those boundaries, being able to say no, that was awesome. That was absolutely incredible, because like you said, it is one of those things that we don't talk about. It's one of those things that we don't realize that that is considered self-care.
Right. And think about the resentment you avoid, because how many times are you doing stuff and you're literally building up resentment because subconsciously you're expecting a return.
Or you're expecting people to read your minds. You know what I mean? Whether it's in your relationships, whether it's your marriage, whether it's your children, whatever it is, if you don't set those boundaries, they don't realize that they're taking from you. They're taking that time. They're taking that energy. They're taking those things from you. So you have to be able to set no, because then you have those resentments towards those relationships, because you're like, what the heck? You're taking, and they don't realize unless you let them know that they realize, for them.
Yes. And the other thing I want to point out, which we don't have a video for this yet, but Julie shared a couple great things that I loved. One, we sit down, but do we mentally sit down? That was gold. Do you mentally sit down and allow yourself to pause? And then she also said, I let people drink from my cup. So as I fill up my cup and it overflows, I let people drink from the overflow. That was another really, really great insight that was shared last night. So if you're on here, I will do my best to get that link for you during this show, and or just go to my YouTube channel. You'll see them there. Go to my YouTube channel, subscribe. They're all there right now. I don't know how long we're going to leave these up. I'm not sure what we're going to do with them yet. We're going to get your feedback. And also I want to point out there's a word of the day. So every day we are going to share a word. And if you get all 5 words and you book a 5-minute call with us, you're going to get a free virtual ticket to Flashpoint. And I'll be talking to you about Flashpoint throughout the event as well, because it starts with the life reset, and Flashpoint is where you go to a live event, you really roll up your sleeves and you're ready to do the work. And so I know we're going to have a lot of insights to share tonight. So Mama Mo, I'm going to ask you to hold me to task to make sure we get the word of the day, because I get in the mode here, I won't miss it. So let's do this. We have some great folks that are literally backstage. And when I tell you, just listen to their stories. We're going to do a quick intro of everybody. They're going to share a quick tip, because I want to give you something of value right away. You might be on limited time. And then we're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to identify this uncertainty, this word uncertainty, and how it can keep us stuck. So are you ready? Let's see people in the chat. Let me know if you're ready for some new insights. You're ready for to make a change. Let me know you're ready. Put hashtag ready in the chat. Hashtag ready. This is about being ready. You may not be running out of your house tonight, but we are getting mentally, emotionally prepared for what's next. Okay. Let me see you in the chat. We'll highlight you as you type in hashtag ready. Let's get our guests on here. Here we go. So first, we are going to let's bring on the man who we get a highlight for, Mr. Jim Hetherington, affectionately known as Coach Jim, but he's a speaker, author, mentor. He's got an incredible background. And Jim, we're glad that you're back here for day 2. So let's bring on everyone else here. We want to hear from everybody. Miss Linda McBee is back again. Had a lot of great things to share on healthcare as a functional medicine coach. And we still haven't gotten to the fact how you can eat candy and get well, but we'll get to that.
The best thing ever.
And we have our very own Dana Lynn Banks.
Yes.
Hey, Dana.
Hello.
Welcome to the show. We're glad you're with us tonight. And we finally have the guy that I've been wanting to see. And here he is, Mr. Dave Chemetsky. Dave, welcome on the path. I am excited to hear from you tonight. So we got a great lineup here tonight. And I want to welcome you. If you're listening, you're a part of this. So type in ready now. Just like, are you ready? Are you ready for something new? We're not going to figure out the world tonight. I'm telling you, we're not going to figure it all out for you tonight. But if you walk away with one distinction, one thing, we win, and we help you win. So let's get to know our panel. If you're here for the first time, we're going to hear from them again. And Mama, I'm going to start with you just because I want people to know a little bit about you. You were at the airport last night. I'm so glad you were able to make it on. We battled through. See, I believe that progress is greater than perfection. And I would rather have a few words at the airport than to have you miss the opportunity. So I'm glad you were with us last night. But let's hear a little bit about you.
Yes, I am a feminine alchemist. I take women through a somatic healing journey, which means I get them in touch with their bodies so that they can go through trauma, heal from their trauma. So I take women through an immersive healing journey to unlock their inner power, to break through their limiting beliefs, developing clarity in their life's vision, and cultivating confidence in their self-worth. To take something that is seemingly, we think of our self-worth as seemingly worthless, and to help them to step into their power, to see themselves as something of worth. That is what I do.
And hopefully we'll hear later about that retreat that you went to, because I know there's a lot of things that happened there. Let's go to Jim next. Jim, you saw your highlight. You were at the lot with the self-care. How you feeling? Let the world know who you are if they're on here for the first time.
Yeah, thanks, Austin. I appreciate it. And thanks for having me back. It's always nice to be called back the second night. It's always great.
That's right.
So I appreciate that. So for those that don't know me, my name is Jim Hetherington. I'm an author, mentor, and speaker. And when I'm not writing, when I'm not, doing that kind of stuff, I love to encourage and empower individuals, my clients, audiences to take next level in success in all their relationships in life and in business. It's so important that we don't forget about one or the other. You can have success in life and business at the same time. It doesn't have to be an either or.
And Jim, I have to throw it in there because I know Mary's probably watching. So Jim's been happily married for over 40
don't forget that part.
years to the same beautiful woman, Mary. So when Jim talks about relationships and business, I'm listening. And I want you to listen too, because he's going to have some more great insights to share. So let's go to Dave, because Dave, I know you got hung up last night, but you're here. I'm glad you're here. We always love the peace, love, and bring a bat, but you're on the path. Talk to us.
Yeah, so we're all on a path. I mean, Ram Dass says we walk each other home. So when we do that, there's a lot of different ways to do that. We've all experienced a lot of different things. You'll call them flashpoints. I call them Phoenix moments. Those moments where we don't think we can get up out of the ashes, and somehow we do. We rise above, we keep reaching up, right? It's the old saying, fall down 7 times, get up 8. Mm-hmm. So that's what I teach people how to do for themselves. I believe self-empowerment is really great. When you teach, the right resources, it really begins to rise. And that's one of those games that I love playing with a group like this, is finding the R in your heart. We talk about rise and resilience, and we can think a whole bunch of other things. And if anybody's hungry for dinner time, we can even talk about ravioli. But, that's what I do, is really, I like to use words and play on words. That's why the On the Path stands for personal attitudes towards happiness. It's, a journey that we take, and everybody's journey might be different, but how we overcome that and then take our next level to soar. Once you become that powerful, you find a pathfinder, or you become your own pathfinder, you then lift yourself up and take your time to soar. That was my first book that came out. When your heart says it's your time to soar, there's a lot of different ways to really kind of make that happen. And that's what I enjoy doing, both in a professional setting as well as with a lot of CEOs. I've worked with, C-suite people, but I've also enjoy working with individuals because we're all one.
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
Yes.
Dave, I love your attitude. And not only that, when I look at the things you share on social media, they're very intentional. And I could tell you put a lot of thought in what you share. You're not just machine gunning people with, things. You're very, I could tell, am I right?
Yeah, no, and that's what's great is, and you never know who's listening or watching, but if you put it out there, you never know who also needs that message for that day. And that's the really powerful part is you keep putting out this energy. I really believe there's a lot of energy work that I do that you just put out good energy. You never know who needs to hear it those days. And sometimes I'm really just even talking to myself because we have to start with loving ourselves. And once we love ourselves, we can then, expand. I mean, that's why, I love the community that you have together and the other communities that intertwine with everything, because it's really all about putting together the right people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Get the right people together and you can make miracles. As we want to do tonight. We're doing it now. Like, I want you to understand, we're doing this now. We want to create some miracles right now. They're mini miracles. And also along the lines of self-care, I'm going to make sure, did you drink some water today? Okay. Did you take a deep breath today? Because we're going to keep this going. I'm not going to do a whole breath exercise, but I just want to invite you. We did that last night, but just grab a breath here, right now, because we want to make this real, not just a bunch of people talking. Like, stop and take a breath. Austin, stop. Stop and take a breath. They call that the pregnant pause. And then we'll drink some water. And I just happen to have my Power Pure Presence little thermos here. And so get some water. That's real. Like, it's real. We gotta do the self-care real time. So let's keep going. Dana, we're glad you're here tonight.
Thank you. I
love that you put gifted intuitive in your title. So
yes.
let us know who you are.
Yeah, so I'm Dana Lynn Banks. I am an author, a mentor, and I am rediscovering myself. At 51 years old, I kind of just reached a plateau to where I was more worried about the future than the present. So I am here on a journey for self-care. So I wasn't on the call last night, but I was able to do a replay. And so I am all about caring for myself. I've cared for others my entire life, which has been great. And it's time to care for myself because, I can't, pour out of an empty cup. So I am so excited to be here. And I want folks to know that faith has carried me. Faith is so important because it goes hand in hand with uncertainty. So what faith is just trusting and knowing that although you can't see the outcome or you can't see the future, that you have to trust and knowing that everything is going to be okay. So I definitely want to convey that, and also to trust your intuition. It's there for a reason. And if you breathe and you're calm and you trust it, it will definitely be your guide. So thank you for having me, Austin. I'm super excited.
That is great. And we're eager to get more from you. I know you're going to have a lot more to share. Trust your intuition. That's the one thing I just heard you say. I think that's worth putting in there. Trust your intuition, because how many times do we not do it? And then we end up in situations and we go, I should have trusted my gut. We call it our gut. It's our intuition. So yeah, Dana, we're glad you're here tonight. And Linda is back with us tonight as well. Incredible wellness journey. You talked about the self-care. You're back tonight. And by the way, we are talking about uncertainty tonight. That's going to be our topic. Tomorrow night, we're going to talk about self-rediscovery. And so Dana's, and by the way, I said this last night, there's no perfect people on here. We're just going to share some insights, our journeys, what we've learned to pour something into your life now, tonight, not tomorrow, not right now, tonight. So Linda, I'm glad you're back. Let us know. I know you shared last night, but we definitely want to hear more.
So for uncertainty, goodness, I've had some trauma in my past, as well as health issues that the doctors didn't know what was going on, sent me to different specialists. And so talking about faith and just trusting, that I began to do internal work from reading and meditating and seeing and beginning to listen to what my body was telling me to really move forward. And sometimes that takes working through the different things and really being willing to dig deep into those, to trust, because you have faith, but you also have to have trust. And the first person that we have to have trust in is in ourselves.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. That's we have to have trust in ourselves. So I will get that up there. So thank you so much for sharing a little bit. Is there anything else you want some people to know before we transition?
I'm a functional medicine coach. I have been in the healthcare personally for almost 50 years. So
Wow.
from my own personal things that I've worked through to now be able to help others. And we'll get into the candies a little bit later.
People are interested in the candies now. What about the candies? Tell us about the candies. So we have to trust ourselves. I'm doing this real time, by the way. So I just want to get it up there visually so you can see it. It'll have more impact on you if you can visually see it as we're saying it. So there you go. We have to trust ourselves. So someone needed to hear that tonight. Someone may not be trusting themselves and they're not trusting their gut. So we're going to get into that. There could be some uncertainty, right? We're going to talk about that. And I just want to give a shout out to our guests. I've been missing some of the shares, but there's a little bit of stuff going on here. And so Tracy, I just want to call out Tracy from Canada. I met Tracy through TikTok. I got a little TikTok account that's starting to grow, and Tracy puts a lot of great posts. So she's here tonight and looks like she's making some friends with Ivy here in the chat. So there's a whole other thing going on in the chat. That's why if you're in the chat and you want to be involved, you're free to type stuff in there. And she was also confirming Dave, what he was talking about. And we got a lot of great stuff happening in there as well. And somehow Dave is miraculously in two places at once. But you know what? It's so true. You're all inspiring. And wow, we're going to throw some compliments around tonight. Linda, you don't look a day over 40.
Aww.
I need one. That's a good compliment.
Yes, it is.
Oh, and Tracy.
Thank you very much, Ivy.
Oh, you know what? There's one thing I wanted to highlight with what Tracy said. But let me read this. Well, I'm a mental health nurse, so mental health nurse for over 35 years. But earlier, what I like what Tracy put, which I think is important to highlight, if I can just find it. And anyway, if I don't find it, I'll just say it. But she put wonderful to relive self-care. Oh, here it is. I'm reliving my self-care. So how many times we know what to do, but we're not doing it, or we get off track, or we need to go deeper into it. And I just want to point everybody to that video. Again, once I get it in the share, I'll let you know. All right, so let's keep moving along here. We're going to talk about uncertainty tonight. So uncertainty, challenges, and inhibitions. Right now, we're going to give you a quick tip because I wanted to put something out there quickly for you. So we get a quick tip, and then we're going to go deeper into the stories. So that's what we want to do. And yes, so thank you. We'll do the word of the day. So we're going to do the word of the day after the tips. So we're going to get a tip from everybody. And let me set this up. So we have uncertainty. We are uncertain. We are unsure. We want to make a change, and that fear can come in. Mm-hmm. And that fear plays on uncertainty. Like when we're uncertain about something, we may have some fear come in. We might get a little scared. We might be a lot scared about a said change. Let's talk about that tonight, because when you go to make a change, when you go to reset your life, this is real. So we want to keep it real.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping it real will lead also into, let's maybe call out some of these obstacles. So I'm going to ask our panel of experts either what they think is an obstacle, or if you want to type something in the chat. Let's keep it real tonight, because when we keep it real, that's a good foundation. That's the foundation to grow from. Let's start with a quick tip. I'm going to go to Jim because he's usually ready. So Jim, we'll let you warm us up.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, Austin. I think with uncertainty, I think the first thing we need to do is name the uncertainty. Just name it. So often we're fearful but we don't know why. We don't know what it is. None of us is meant to know everything down the road. We're not meant to know everything. And so often we can get caught up in uncertainties because we're unsure. We don't know what's coming. There's doubt. There's, all kinds of things happening. But if we stopped and named it, then we could sit back and we could start to make a list of the things or the reasons why that is such, it's kind of sidelining us. It's throwing us off guard a little bit. But if we take time and name it, I think we'd find ourselves a little less uncertain about things. We'd find there's a little bit more certainty in things. Because the truth is, we can do nothing about where we are not. The only place that we have any control over is in the moment. And the best thing we can do is be prepared, do as much as we can in the moment to be prepared for the next thing and the next day and so on, but not to be uncertain about it, but name it and do what you can in the moment.
That's a great, great tip. Mama Mo, can I ask you to capture these things? Because maybe we can revisit them.
What
Name it, like the quick tips. And I'll try to do it as well here as we're doing this. But Jim, that's a great tip. Let's see, Linda, let's see what your tip is. What's your quick tip?
But I gave my tip already.
Give it again. We want to hear it again.
As far as trust and really trusting.
Thank you.
I can't remember how I worded it, but and I was just going to say earlier that I had to learn this personally. So I'm not saying this out like this is what you need to do. This is what I did to work through that uncertainty. I had to trust myself and ground myself so that when all of those health issues came along, as there were lots of uncertainties, I had to be grounded and move forward and have faith and have trust, faith in God and trust in myself. And that's where I dug deep in that.
Yep. Great. So see, we got another perspective.
To do the first time around, so that's why I gave that.
Okay, that's okay. We needed to hear it again, right? Remember, progress, not perfection. We're not here to be perfect. And then Jim said, name what you are uncertain about. All right, name what you are uncertain about. Okay. Let's keep going and let's go to Dana.
Yeah, so I spoke about faith, but another big one is do not compare your progress with others. Celebrate every single bit of progress, regardless of, how big or small it is. You definitely take one day at a time and definitely celebrate the small wins, but do not compare yourself to others because your journey is you and your unique journey. So definitely.
That is a great tip. Do not compare yourself to others. Celebrate your own progress. Yeah. Thank you, Mama. That's perfect. Right there. That's perfect. Then I can take that, put that in there. I love it. All right. Let's go on to Dave.
Yeah. So to kind of take on what everybody else has said, it really goes back to it's all about you. Each one of these things is how you are in the moment, as Jim had said, and Well, the trust in yourself, Linda had said, and Dana just kept on adding on to that. And one of the things I talk about all the time is finding the R in your heart. And really, what that means is there's always words. As I said earlier, words are really important to me. So the words that come up to you, because there's always an R in your heart. If you can ground yourself, being present really means within yourself. Doesn't matter what's going outside of you. That if other people are doing things that are upsetting you, you still can have the power within to control yourself. So reach deep inside is a tip, but finding the R in your heart, because you can find resilience, how you can rise. And sometimes you just need to recalibrate the situation and have that conversation. So don't look for revenge. Take that out of your heart, and always stay within yourself. Because when I talk about the heart, the words earth and heart are the same letters, rearranged differently. So just stay grounded to yourself, and then always return back to yourself.
Finding the R in your heart. I want you to give me a little more context on that.
Yeah, sure. It all goes back to the fact of what I need to do, in my life. So if we're going to talk about self-care, I've needed to rise, and I'm sure if we ask everybody on the call, they've needed to rise from something that they've overcome, or they didn't think that they could overcome as they were going through it. So that's the first part, because I do talk about the phoenix rise out of the ashes of our lives. But how do we become the soar? So it's really finding the R in your heart, and every day it can be something different. And when I speak publicly, I always say, if anybody wants to add an R, I love to incorporate the R. So in your comments, give me some R's, and I don't care how silly you want to be. I had one person once yell out, ravioli, and then I go, all right, well, that's fine, that's an R, and I'm Jewish, and I married somebody who's Italian, so really I'll also talk to you about rigatoni and rugelach and stuff like that. We can have a lot of fun, because it really is about returning to our inner child. And among the work that I do is working with inner child. Yeah, relax, rest, rejuvenate is huge.
There you go.
I think somebody was talking about it earlier, that they're feeling stressed, and when you're doing that, you need to make time for yourself. It really is revitalize is awesome. Right. So those are the words you want to do at times. Remind yourself to do those things, because a lot of times, and I'm sure most of us are in this same category, we help others before we help ourselves. And it goes back to the cliche of putting the air mask on ourselves before we help others. And most people don't realize why we do that. If you put the air mask on somebody else in an airplane situation, you might pass out. And if you're helping your child, they can't help you. You need to take care of yourself. It is not selfish. By taking care of yourself, it actually helps you do that much more, because one of the things that, and I'll give another tip, is I always talk about rubbing your hands. That helps reset yourself. It's using your body chemistry to actually rub yourself nice and slow. Yep, no, nice and slow, because it'll generate delta waves, which are the brain waves we use when we go to sleep. So all these things tied together is putting that focus back on yourself. And in any situation, you could do that and nobody would notice about it. And that's really a trick. That the more people do that, the more we can always reset ourselves. So if you're in traffic, you could do it anywhere you want. Spend 30 seconds to always reset yourself.
Great.
Gary.
I love that.
So when I think of heart and food, as Dave was talking about food, we often think of strawberries. And strawberry is actually the word for love. And if we don't have love, if there's an issue with love in our heart, we will actually create massive health issues and typically heart attacks, and people die. And so it's so important. So when you get down a food tangent, I'm going to start talking about foods and different botanicals, and it's so true. But as Dave was talking about that, I thought, It's really the heart, and it's the heart of the matter. And Dave's really onto something there with heart.
I mean, that's the thing. The food, if we look at it, we're all an energy. Even our food, even things that we think don't have an energy, like rocks, they really do have an energy. There's always something that happens, and if we can support each other, which we all should be doing anyway. And I know in this community we are very supportive, but that's really one of those things: finding your R, and you got to find what works for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just want to chime in and say, if you mentioned strawberries, you're talking about the heart. Like, I was thinking about chocolate. So, I mean, I'm just saying, if you're going to have the strawberries, you might as well throw some dark chocolate in there and really tickle your heart.
And some raspberries.
Some raspberries.
Raspberry.
We're trying to help people reset their lives. They're going to be running to the produce section with raspberries, strawberries, and chocolate.
Well, I always say, cooking is my love language. Food is my love language. Like I love to pour into that. Fresh fruits, fresh vegetables, feeding their spirit, feeding their body. So there's so much that goes into that. I love to cook for my family. I bribe my kids to come over and let me cook for you. Like that. That's so much that has to do with that.
Yes.
So.
And now we're kind of back in self-care, but this is really good, like an environment for a quiet mental clarity. But we're going to get into the uncertainty part here, for sure. So,
and I wanted to say too, like one of my favorite things in uncertainty is I used to live in regret because I never took chances. And so like for me during uncertainty, there's a phrase by Suzanne Jeffers that I always say, feel the fear and to do it anyways, because you don't, in those times of uncertainty, when we don't know what the outcome is going to be, it, like you talk about in your poem, the jump. You know what I mean? Sometimes you just got to jump. Sometimes you got to take that fear and you got to try, even if you fail. You know what I mean? You don't know what's on the other side of that door. You don't know what's on the other side of whatever it is, but you feel this pull within you. You know that there's something in your soul that is pulling you in a direction, and it's scary. And you don't know because you don't know the outcome. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't know, and it's super scary. So for me in those times, I have it everywhere. It's always there. When I feel that feeling, feel the fear and do it anyways. Just jump. Because some of the most beautiful experiences, like this weekend for this women's trip, I met this woman on live, and it was just like I needed to be in her presence. I needed to be what she was creating. It was in alignment with who I was. And so here I did. I jumped on a plane all the way across country into Montana to meet people that I didn't know, to bring my gift there. And all of a sudden, here I am now speaking to these women in this environment. Didn't know how it was going to be received, had no idea what was going to happen. But
we got a little bit of a feedback. I don't know where it's coming from, and I want to hear what you're saying. So maybe if everybody could mute just for a moment, and then I want you to finish that thought.
I was saying, here I am jumping on a plane with somebody to meet somebody who I didn't know, to be a part of their women's retreat this weekend. She was taking a chance on me. I was taking a chance on her, but I just knew that I needed to be there, that there was somebody there that needed to hear what I had to say. And so I took it. I just jumped. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know how it was going to be received. I didn't know any of these women. I'd never met any of them before. But sometimes, and just by doing that, I built these incredible relationships. I was able to change lives, to make an impact. And if I would have lived in that fear, in that uncertainty, in that that space of who am I, to bring myself, in this leadership form, to bring this to these women, I could have just been like, and, hid away in the background, but I jumped. I took a chance, because I've learned that on the other side of fear is so many beautiful things, just take, and if you fail, you fail. It is what it is, but at least at least at least you tried, at least you're not going to live with that regret. You know what I mean? What if? We live in this time of all of these what ifs. I don't want to live in what if anymore. You know what I mean? I want to take those chances. I want to jump. I've learned that feeling inside, that little moment of uncertainty, that fear that we have inside, it's there for a reason. It's our intuition pulling us in a direction. But if we can get over that little uncertainty, those little fears, man, it's such a beautiful journey.
Yeah. I just want to give Rich a shout out for keeping it real. We're going to hit that. And I think, you know what? I'm thinking, since you mentioned the poem, I'm thinking about sharing it right now.
Yes.
And then we come back, we'll do the word. So, all right, let's see if we can share this right now with everybody. A little special thing here.
Yes.
Until you jump, you do not know how far you will fall or how high you will go. It's painful to stay, but it's scary to leave. One thing is sure, you can no longer live in between. Straddling two worlds worked for a while, but now you long for the faith of a child. You consider each scenario with unyielding precision. And lo, there really is only one decision. You step to the ledge with fire and zeal. You reconnect to spirit, and now you feel. Death and life now hang in the balance. Time to muster up all of your talents. All forces come together in your moment. No turning back and no way to relent. You make the leap and overcome your fear. Passion fueled as you embark on a new frontier. Never to return to what you once knew. Faith and courage will now see you through. Let me just exit out of there.
I love that poem. I have it right next to my desk. Ever since we were at Flashpoint in the fall and you read it, I was like, I have to keep that. And it's that reminder, to jump.
Yeah. That poem, and we're going to talk about uncertainty here, but that poem came from all the uncertainty of leaving my career of 19 years. There's just a moment you jump. And I trust that, reaches somebody. And you mentioned reaching one person. If you share this with one person and they meet Jim, they meet Linda, they meet Dana, they meet Dave, they meet Mama Mo, they meet me, things can change. It doesn't change in a vacuum. And that's why we're doing this 5-day challenge. So I know Ivy has a copy of the poem as well. But let's get into this next round of what is, I want you to share a little bit about your story, for sure, a story of your own uncertainty. And let's draw some evidence to, or some light, what Jim said. He said, name it, which was a perfect lead in. Name the uncertainty. So while we might name yours, but I'm thinking we could call out some of these things. And by the way, I am going to give you the word. The word for today is courage. Courage. If you want yesterday's word, you got to get it. If you have all 5 words, 1 word a day, and you book a 5-minute call with us, I will gift you a virtual ticket to Flashpoint 5.0, VIP virtual ticket, which means you get the workbook, you get some extra things in there. And if you don't know what that is, stay tuned. We'll share a little bit about that toward the end. But right now, I want to get into these things that can creep in and keep us from moving forward. And we kick it to someday, and we stay in a world that maybe is not serving us anymore. And it feels constricting and maybe stuck. Who would like to kick us off? Dave. Dave, okay, unmute yourself, please, so we can hear you.
Yeah. I mean, life is. Let's be honest. Life is uncertainty. We don't know if it's going to be sunny tomorrow. We don't know anything. And one of the stories that I have last year is completely about uncertainty, not only in my life but in others' lives. And the story that when I met you last July, Austin, I shared with everybody.
Yeah.
As we get older, and it doesn't matter older what that means. Age is different for every one of us. Last February, my friend of 30 years, 35 years, passed away unexpectedly. He was 55. Nobody could reach him. His girlfriend couldn't reach him. And I went in and we found him. So uncertainty, we don't know. And among the things, and I don't have it right next to me, but as I was organizing his things, as I was taking the responsibility to take care of his mom, who he had left here, and we found an envelope from his passport. And when we talk about a passport, we talk about our promises that we make to each other. We make our promises to ourselves. That's what a passport is. A passport is a promise to yourself that you're going to go somewhere. We all have a passport, either not physically, but mentally.
Great.
What are the things you want to do? We talk about bucket list. When I retire, when I do this, those are promises you're making yourself. And because we don't know our uncertainty, we don't know, we have hopes of what we want to do. I hold that passport all the time. This was empty, not stamped at all. His promises are over. His uncertainty is over as well. But it's taken me to a different level of making sure I follow through the things that I need to do, because we don't know how much time we have. I've dealt with uncertainty. Some of that has caused me personal strife. When I talk about being a phoenix, it's because I've experienced challenges that I didn't know what the next day was going to bring. And each moment we need to learn, even in the darkest moments, how to find the light within ourselves. And I think that's really what uncertainty is for me, is now learning, going through that experience last year. I knew what I had to do. And even though there was lots of uncertainty, I was able to manage it because of all the other learnings that I did. I returned to myself. And, it's really powerful when you say what Jim said is name it, because when you name it, you could face it. And when we talk, Mama Mo was talking about the fears we might have. Well, what I challenge everybody is, how about doubt your doubts? How about start thinking about all the things that you are doubting, to really be like, that's not true. Because most of the things that we fear don't come to fruition, right? A lot of the things, even the most horrible things, you still found a way to recover from it and move forward. Another thing I say is, the fears, the monsters in our head are much worse than the monsters under the bed, because we build it up. And because you're all pathfinders, you're all warriors who have overcome things that they really want to overcome, then you've done it before. You've had it. Nobody wants to go through bad things, but when it happens, if you build the right resilience, you're able to overcome it. And that's, where we flip with that uncertainty. Life will always be uncertain. I don't mean to stress anybody out, but by having the right resources, or finding the right resources. When I talk about being the pathfinder, people go, well, I just need a compass. Well, think about the compass. A compass will take you north, south, east, and west, but it won't tell you that there's a lake in the way that you need to swim across, and you might not know how to swim. That's why it's really helpful to find the right community and the right mentors, or being part of that, because they can help you and assist you. You have to make the choices yourself. That's why I don't really like the word help that often. I like it assist, because you have to make the choices for you that are best for you. And, that's really take the uncertainty, embrace it a little bit, because it's a growing opportunity. And that's really what I want to have everybody remember. If it's not a growing opportunity, it's a dying opportunity. Everybody in this community is here for that flashpoint, that growth opportunity. And I think that's enough for me right now.
Yeah, that's really interesting to have that, the uncertainty of loss.
Mm.
So if we can track these, so we lost somebody, that's real. So we're going to name some of these. A person who was there, they're not there anymore.
It's also the uncertainty of time. We don't know what time, I mean, look, we each can get a call right now that says, "Hey, I need you to do something." And I'll pick on Jim just because I've met Jim or Dana. Hey, Jim, I need you to come just pick up my car. Like, could you help? I have a flat tire and we would need to leave, this, we don't know what uncertainty happens. That's why they sometimes call it accidents. So it's not only about death. And I would look at it that I have more opportunities now to have him, my friend Kevin, live a lot more. Yeah, I put him in my book. So though his body is gone, the spirit is continuing. And, I look at that as uncertainty. Some people might be like, "Oh, you're trying to do this, you're trying to do that." Everybody has opinions. I'm not worried about their opinions.
Okay, well said. That was a lot to unpack there. How are you feeling about this in the chat? We got some stuff in here. Doubt is a dream stealer,
Yep.
and especially self-doubt. Yes. Anilda, the only thing certain in our lives is death itself. What I want to shift gears here as we continue, because there's a lot we can discern from that, because that, to me, you have a perspective now, Dave, that is going to drive you deeper into life. And the thing is, what I wanted to set this up as we get older, and by the way, this is not with everybody, this is just in general. So I'm speaking in general terms, but as we get older, and actually Ivy was bold enough to share this, and I'll grab that. She says, "I've always been a jumper until now. I have more trepidation these days." Okay, well, she just named it. So first of all, I want to congratulate Ivy for doing that, because the reality is, as we age, we can crave certainty. We want predictability, and unknowingly, if we don't name it, we become uncertain averse, risk averse, and in many cases that makes sense. We're not going to go do crazy risky things, but we do. But we also know simultaneously that if we don't take risk and we don't get out of our comfort zone, we may not grow. And so wherever you're finding this, live, playback, Facebook, YouTube, Apple TV, Amazon, wherever, assess yourself. What stage are you? Maybe you heard tonight, you're going to name that, and we're going to keep going. I'm going to go to Dana next. And we can look at, what are these things? What does this uncertainty do to prevent us from pushing the life reset button? In Dave's case, maybe he said, my friend died, right? He could go into deep depression, shut the lights off, become more constricted. Or he can do what he's doing now, which is intensifying his mission to go out there and share his message and his perspective, to tell his friend's story about the passport with nothing in it. And so that is an incredible perspective. So Dana, I'm going to go over to you now. And because, by the way, and some of us I'm resetting an area, like I'd reset, but so there's various degrees of resetting and dealing with uncertainty. Dana, what would you like to share on this topic?
So that was remarkable what Dave said about the passport, because one of the quotes, I'm not certain who it was, but One of the quotes that I really hold dear is something along the lines of looking into a graveyard and knowing that how many unfulfilled inventions or unfulfilled, um, anything unfulfilled is lying in the graveyard because folks, had fear or they took, each day for granted. And so that really hits home because last year I was the target of a horrible smear campaign. I had did a favor for someone, poured my heart and soul into just being a good humanitarian, and in turn, I was the victim of a smear campaign, which nearly crippled me. I was in my home for about 2 months.
Hmm.
I just said, I'm finished. I'm no
Wow.
longer going to pour into anyone. I was hated. I was ridiculed. And it was at that moment to where I believe I was lying in my bed and I said, no one is coming to save me. No one is coming. I mean, everyone, there were a lot of folks that felt empathy for me, but it was up to me to just get it together
Right.
and not allow others' opinions of me to cripple me and just to accept it and to move forward. And so that's what I did, but it wasn't easy. It came with a lot of pain and agony and trauma, but it was just me. No one was going to save me. And so, even at, this point in my life, I had to act or, I would fall into oblivion.
And look, now you got your book out, you're stepping more into your purpose, and it's that polarity. It's the
Yeah.
polarity. It's which I write about in my book, which I will grab here in a moment. I know I have it here. Yes. I know, never leave the screen. I know, never leave the camera, but so I write about it in the book, the polarity, and that going through these hardships can be transmuted. And we'll talk more about that as we go. But Dana, that's you just echoed what I said. Like we could shut the lights off and go into more uncertainty, right? Like more, or crave certainty more, like close down, constrict, or we can transmute it and then begin to step out. And in your case, it took a lot of courage to do that. So, so we got, what would be the obstacle or the inhibition that you think, had you not gotten out of there, what was it? The fear of, what would you say?
Just the fear of going out in public, just the fear
Right.
of, not knowing, if my life was, in danger from one, moment to the next. Just fear more than anything.
Fear, and fear that, well, if I pour into somebody again,
Yes.
right? So you become skeptical and cynical,
Oh,
but you
absolutely.
and so that can be an inhibitor from making that life reset, because somebody, a group or a person attacked you, came after you, and that can cause a lot of problems. So that's real. That can happen for sure. So thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Jim, let's go over to you. Talk about this topic because you're the one that called it out. Name the thing that you're uncertain, where the uncertainty is.
Mhm. Like you say, Austin, there's so much that we can unpack. I think we could sit here till midnight talking about this and just, still just kind of be at the surface. But as I was listening to everyone, I was thinking back, I was reflecting back on my own story, and I was thinking, fear, it just freezes us. And I was thinking about that comment that Ivy put in there, the older I get, the less, the less flexible I am, the less I want to jump into things. And I think often that comes because the memories of all those past experiences, the failures, the different things that we've gone through, it's not so much that we're going to fail again. I think it's just that we've got that and we don't want to experience it again. Right? It's the fear of those feelings that really freaks us out. And I think that's probably what keeps us in this place of uncertainty. Because, okay, I tried it once or twice or 10 times. If I do it again, I've got this, I got all this stuff behind me that's going to come barreling in again. It's all these feelings, and we're afraid of the feelings more than we're afraid of anything else. And I think it's just taking that and naming that, like I said, and just standing in the mirror and saying, okay, I failed here and this is what happened. Yes. And this is how I felt. And this is what was yucky about it. And now I'm going to deal with all those things and then just reframe that whole that whole experience. So now we can move forward, because our fears will always trap us, right? We're tethered to those. Unless we deal with them, there's only so far we can journey until those fears will just hold us back, pull us back, keep us back. And it's not until we bring them into the present and identify them and name them and list them and then face them, face to face and say, I'm no longer afraid of you. And just break off that power so that we can start to move forward. That's where the uncertainty starts to. You talked at the top of the hour, you referred to me being married for 40 years, which is absolutely amazing for me. 10 years into my marriage, I almost walked away from it because of uncertainty. I had, a 9-year-old and a 6-year-old child at the time. I have a grade 9 education. I was, had low self-esteem.
Wait, back up again. Say that again.
Which part?
You had a grade 9 education?
I have grade 9. Grade 9 is my last completed year. In fact, I don't even think I got all the credits in grade 9. But grade 9 is the last year. I turned 16. I didn't even complete grade 10. I quit school.
Wow. Jim, how many books have you written?
I've written 5 books now, and I've got 3 in the computer that I'm working on right now.
I wanted to share that. So grade 9 education, and you got 5 books out.
Yeah.
When I look at you, it's amazing. Like, you look like educated, sharp, like you could hang with the best. I could imagine you and Jordan Peterson having a conversation.
I would love to hang out with Jordan. I think that would be fantastic. But my point being that at that point I was my self-confidence and who I was as a man, right? Because It was challenging to get good jobs. So I'm looking at that uncertainty. I have no experience, as a parent. I had no real, anything in that whole realm. And it's like, okay, how good of a father can I be? How good of a husband can I really be? How good of a friend can I really be? And I'm sure that people can relate to that. We list all these things off, don't we? Of,
Yes.
I'm not qualified to do any of these things. I drove out into the country. I parked my car and I was just going to walk into the sunset, not return. I was just walking.
Wow.
And as I was walking, I came across this path, and in this path it was just all sand. And as I was walking, it was like, you ever been on a beach and the sand is really thick and you just can't get any traction. And I was sitting there and I'm just going along, and it just seemed like for about 10 minutes, I was just walking on the spot. I was just not going. I was so angry at the world. I was angry at God. I was angry at everything. And I just fell to my knees. And I said, I can't even do this right. Like, I can't even run away from everything. And it was at that moment that I went back. And I had previously walked around a small little lake. And I went back and I sat at that lake. And I had to face all those things. I had to face the uncertainty, as a provider, as a father, as a husband. I had to face all of those things. And I had to take responsibility for each and every one of those, because I was the common denominator in every one of those scenarios. I had to start working on me in order to turn the ship around. And that's where it started. And then I'm happy to say, 30 some odd years later, now I've been married for 40 years. I've run my own company for 28 years. I was a pastor in the midst of that for 23 years. I've been coaching and mentoring for over 30 years. It was in that moment that I turned around. And that's what I want to share. If you talk about reaching one person, if I could say anything to one person, it would be that. Just sit down right where you are. Stop running. Stop running away from things. Just sit and face it. It's not as big and as bad and as ugly as you think it is.
Wow.
It's far worse if we walk away from it and just try to deny it. Those fears will never go away. You'll never defeat them by walking away from them. It's only facing them that we can defeat those things.
Jim, that's so amazing. You're such what a testimony you have. And you can see that's why, Jim is affectionately called Coach Jim, although he likes to he does so many other things, but you can see why, because the impact he has on people with that story. And wow. So we're glad to have you on here tonight. Right now, we're glad that you're going to be joining us here in the Philadelphia area at the next Flashpoint event. So that's really exciting. I know that's going to be amazing.
It is going to be fun.
But what a powerful share. I'm just going to say, does anybody want to chime in on that?
I do,
Yeah.
because I have something similar, but a different situation. You touched on a lot of subjects here. One of the last things you said is stop running. And that was, my moment of uncertainty that I was going to speak about was, I got cancer. And I didn't have my kids. I come from severe trauma. I had, a lot of domestic violence, and through some of those, decisions that I made in my relationships, put my children, through a lot of hardships and things that I felt guilty and that I was running away from. And so my kids, went to go live with their grandparents, and I went to Wisconsin after my divorce. And so then I got cancer, and then I was like, what am I doing with my life? And there was so much uncertainty. And all I knew was that I had no idea what tomorrow was going to bring. All I knew is that I needed to get my kids back, whatever that looked like. But that uncertainty for me was me being a mom, and uncertain that I could be that mom that my kids needed, because I brought so much trauma and so many unhealthy things into their life, because I didn't know love, because I didn't know what a family dynamics look like, because I lived in that trauma state. And for me, that was my comfort zone: abusive men, narcissistic behaviors, because that's how I grew up. And so stepping outside of that to say, I can do something different, but learning to trust myself in that uncertainty, and taking that leap of faith, and packing everything in my Jeep Grand Cherokee and moving across the country. I didn't know where I was going to work. I didn't know what was going to happen. I didn't know anything. My whole life was uncertain, and it was scary. And my biggest fear was that I was going to mess up my kids. Who am I? Who am I? You said so many things about being angry, facing that uncertainty. You know what I mean? Like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to go? Leaving Wisconsin, leaving my family, leaving my friends, leaving my comfort zone, taking that leap of faith. But it's that point of stop running. I was running away from all of those things. I was running away from myself. I was running away from being a mother. I was running away from all of those things within my life, because they were uncertain and they were scary, and I didn't trust myself. But I did it, and I left everything behind, and I came to the East Coast, and that was my flashpoint moment. That was the moment that once I faced the fear, and I did it anyways, not knowing what was going to happen tomorrow, just knew that something had to change, that something had to be different, that I needed to stop running from it, that I needed to face it, and just do it. Just do that thing. You know what I mean? I didn't know how to be a mom. I didn't know how to be a mom. So I did the very best that I possibly could. I read every book. I did only what I possibly could. But now look, if you would have told me 12 years ago when I got in that truck that I would be where I am today, I would have laughed in your face. And it's through taking those chances. It's through stop running. It's through having that faith in those times of uncertainty that you start to build your confidence. You start to realize one step at a time that you can do this, that there is light at the end of the tunnel, that destination isn't final, and that any moment that you can pivot and change the direction of your life. And you just keep moving forward. And so I love that. I love how you said to stop running. I love how you talk about facing your fears and to, just head on and naming it. And that's so important, especially as those of us who come from trauma. And that's why I'm so passionate about helping women step into their power, You know what I mean? Because we need to learn to trust ourselves. We need to pour into ourselves and learn how to love ourselves and get in tune with our bodies, and learn through those little tiny decisions that we make in those times of uncertainty is how we build that momentum and that progress to keep doing that, to build that trust within ourselves. And it's just, that's where it really starts, is to stop running.
Stop running. Hashtag.
I like it.
Hashtag stop running. Wow. We're going to take a break in a moment. I believe we still need to hear from Linda, right, Linda? Linda's taking it all in, I think. Yeah, there's a lot of really incredible stuff flying tonight. So Linda, yeah, please.
I'm just sitting back listening, and I know Monique wasn't able to be on last night. She was on for the part, but I talked about running, and that Jim and I kind of talked about similar things, but different last evening. And I just have to have a huge shout out to Rich. I think that some of the things that we've been talking about the last couple of days, he's had some realizations, and that's why we're here. Dave jumped off, but he was talking about overcoming challenges and ways to do that through different situations and those uncertainties. And that's some of the stories and the things that I've experienced. You just realize that you get out of. So for people who don't know me, I lost my mom when I was 5. And when you have that experience, you just look at life differently. People in your life you're not promised tomorrow. Just have always looked at things and decisions and things very differently. Don't tend to hesitate. If I'm in, I'm all in, and you're like, wait, I gotta catch up. But and I think that's part of my own personal experience, that we're not promised tomorrow, and
Right.
really not ever wanting to go to bed angry, or you just work through that, because that's not promised. It's today. But it's what I'm going to do today for where my mission is and what I want to do for others. So
Thank you for sharing that. And you shared a lot last night. Let's give a little counter view here. So Anilda is saying, I had to do the opposite. I started running to run away from my depression, and it worked. So it all depends, right? There's no one thing that works for everybody. And I think this is great that Anilda put this up there, because we can talk about things that seem universal, maybe universal, but your journey is yours. If this does anything, maybe it's a catalyst for your journey. Maybe it's a starting point or a vanguard. It's the vanguard of your journey. And I believe most people intuitively know, but when we come on here, we do things like this, it calls upon it. Oh yeah, I forgot, remember the thing that I want, that I forgot, the thing that I buried, that needs to come out, that needs to be called out. And that's really what's happening here in this life reset with people. It's not just think positive. If it was that easy, it's kind of a paradox. Like, it kind of is that easy, but then again, but we still have to address the shadows. We have to call out the things. Okay, so Dana had to exit.
Some of the things that I was talking about with running. So I'm actually, and I've done this for years, part of an organization called Celebrate Recovery. And I work with women who have had hurt habits, hangups. no matter what they are. And some of them, I see them so stuck that they're running away from what really God's wanting them to do and what they know they need to do because of fear. And that's really what I was referring to. So I wanted to clarify, because kudos to you for doing what you needed to help with your depression, because it's so critical. And that's why I was giving you kisses. I don't know if you could see online or where you were, but that
That's
was
Anilda. Anilda?
yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she was talking about working through the depression.
Mm-hmm.
That's real, and especially here during 2020. Depression and anxiety is the number one things that people struggle with. And Monique and I can get on a tangent with all of that. That's just, it's huge, and especially with women, just an overwhelming with everything that they're needing to do with family and kids being homeschooled and all of that
Right.
nonsense with school and just juggling a career and just everything. It's just so
Yeah.
reach out to get some help for that, because depression is serious.
And I want to jump on that, and I'm a little emotional right now. I've had 2 friends of mine that have committed suicide in the last month, and one I just found out the other day, and nobody would have ever guessed. We're just absolutely blown away. There was no signs, there was no nothing, and it really is the culmination of fear and uncertainty and allowing that depression and then that anxiety to take over, and to believe that there isn't any help out there, or there isn't a way out, and that is the only way. And me personally, and my journey as someone who suffered from suicidal thoughts and attempts within my life, know what that struggle is. And so, didn't mean to go down this path, but it was just like, I just feel that I need to say this, that if there's anybody out there that is, that doesn't think that there's a way out, or that life is just too uncertain, or there's just too fearful, or something happens within your life, please reach out to somebody. Because if you would have told me that I would be where I am today, because I didn't think that there was a way out. I didn't think that I was capable of being a mom. I thought that I only brought hurt and chaos into my children's lives, into those lives of those who cared about me the most. And I was suicidal. And just take that step and to reach out to somebody, just to talk to them, that's so final. And now here I am 12 years later, 15 years later, and have my marriage, the relationship that I have with my children, the business that I get to do. And now I get to turn around and help other people find that path as well. And I turn that pain into my passion, and that mess into my message. And there is hope. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I promise. It seems hopeless right now. And it seems like there is no hope, but there is hope out there.
Yeah.
So just wanted to throw that out there, Linda, just because you were speaking on it. It's super close to home for me, because I wish that she would have reached out to me. I wish that somebody would have known what she was struggling with.
Yeah.
Now the rest of us are left here, and it's kind of like all up in the air. So
I think this is uncertainty. I know in my life, it can be a low level. I call it a low level dis-ease.
yes.
For me. Sometimes it's not dramatic. Like sometimes these things are not dramatic. It's a low level dis-ease. And this is why I launched the Power of Pure Presence, because, I launched this show. And the reason why is because I feel like there's a low level dis-ease in society, that we're flawed in this moment. Something's wrong with us. Our mistake is irreconcilable, and we are trying to get somewhere or get out. And the whole point of this is that we can be in this moment, that we're not flawed. We might have made mistakes, and sure, we might be flawed, but we're not. But our core of us is, is once good. The core of us wants good, and we don't, to the degree that we can embrace these things in the moment, and that's what we're doing here. Like, this is this. I don't want to say it's a secret, but it is. To the degree we can step out of what society thinks. So my certainty could come from, I need to look a certain way for society, my husband, my wife, my coworkers, but it's not me, and it's a low level disease, and I start to crumble. I'm losing my self worth. I struggle with that low level disease. I had the self worth. Looked, there's a lot of things that looked great on the surface, but deep down inside, it was that inner child that wasn't healed. That inner child that felt flawed. The two greatest human fears, right? Number one, I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy. Number two, I'm not going to be loved. And imagine if your conditions are set up so you need to have certainty. You need to have all these things happen to be loved. I need to have all these things to happen to be loved. I need to do all these things in order to be worthy. And that's why a lot of us are spiritual people, right? We might be Christians because when we read that, it says, you're enough. Just confess, open up your heart. Grace is sufficient for thee. You are enough. And that's why spirituality can be such a strong catalyst. Although this is not a spiritual platform, it has a spiritual overtone because we are mind, body, spirit, right? We talk about it all the time. And I really appreciate your message because, too much certainty around love and worthiness can cause someone to feel such a way that they got to get out. And the way out is right here. The way out is to embrace what is in this moment and to know that you're loved, to know that there's more for you. And that's what this life reset is all about. I never know where they're going to go. It went deep tonight. We talked a lot about loss tonight, but actually I wrote this down. It's probably in my bag, but it was something to the effect of, in order to live greatly, we must have lost greatly. So in order to live greatly, in order to live a great life, we must have experienced great loss in some way. And that might be the loss of the self that you're propping up for the world to see that's not true to you. It might be the loss of a loved one, like in Dave's case, and that creates a lot of uncertainty. And this is the opening. And I love back to what Jim said, is to name it. So we are way over our break time. I'm going to take a break here. I'm going to share a little bit of information about Flashpoint and how you can get to this event. We have a virtual ticket as low as $23. We have a VIP ticket, which is $797. That is in person. It includes catered dinners. It's a 3-day, over 4 days. It's like roughly over 4 days, 3 days of stepping into a community that I guarantee will change your life for the better forever. So let me just pull that up so we can see that right now. We'll share it and then we'll come back. We'll get our closing thoughts. I'll tell you how to connect. We'll set up tomorrow. And by the way, we want to grab your shares too. So please, if there's something that's moving you, I'll tell you what, if you have something new you're going to do, a new action, a new perspective, I want to invite you to share that in the chat so we can highlight it, because it might speak to someone else who needs to hear it. While we're the ones talking, you also have great insights as listeners. So make sure you share. All right, let me pull this up.
My name is Marilyn Morales. I'm here because I want to help people to heal. I want to heal. I want to be different. I want to be more productive. And I think anybody that comes here is going to find that same thing, their breakthrough.
That's the Flashpoint 5.0, March 31st through April 3rd. It is located in Mount Laurel, New Jersey at the Doubletree Suites. It's a beautiful facility, courtyard, beautiful place. We're going to do the Rocky experience on Friday. We go over to the Rocky Steps here in Philadelphia, and we have a unique little process I run everybody through. And it's, well, Mama Mo is your first one.
It was.
What do you say about it?
It's hard to explain because just even watching it, I could feel the energy that was in the room. To be in a room where everybody is open and being raw, authentic, and sharing themselves on such a vulnerable state. There to find that moment of breakthrough. There were so many tears, there were so many breakthroughs. It was empowering, it was uplifting, it was this sacred space that we shared together that is so rare. That's why I'm coming back for the second one. That's why I needed to get involved, was because it's something that is so special that you don't see, that you don't get to experience anywhere else, that I've never experienced anywhere else, where men and women come together and allow themselves to be vulnerable, to share their stories, to receive. I have a hard time receiving, to receive from other people and to not feel alone. You know what I mean? A lot of us feel alone on our journeys, and we're looking for that moment. We're looking for community. We're looking for a space to be vulnerable, to be seen, to be heard. And that's what Flashpoint allows. It allows this space and this energy for people to have their moment and their breakthrough. And I know that I did. It was life-changing for me. And so I would encourage each and every single one of you, if you are looking for a life-changing experience, to be surrounded by authentic human beings, where a safe space where you can be vulnerable and where you can open up and just be seen for yourself and loved for everything that you are. I encourage you to be at Flashpoint.
Yeah, you said it all. It's just an incredible space that is evolving, and you're safe there. You can, it's your experience, so you go at your pace, and it's an opening. It's an opening for a lot of people, and sometimes it doesn't come in the way we think it's supposed to come. And that, matter of fact, almost never does.
I was just gonna say that.
Right? You're like, wait a second, I didn't. Is this what I asked for? Hold on. But then when it cycles through, you're like, wow. You look back, you go, wow, that was Flashpoint. Like I was having a flashpoint, that initial flashpoint where that opening starts to happen, and you feel there's something different happening, and then it starts to grow. So I just put the website. It's my website, austinhaynes.com/live-events. And it's also in the chat. And I will have a QR code for you tomorrow. I don't have it here if you're listening on one of the other platforms, but I assure you, if you go to my website, austinhaynes.com, you'll see live events, and all the information is there on the event. You can, like I said, as little as $23 if you want to do it virtually, be a fly on the wall, or, I wanted to make it easy. Why $23 for 2023? Or you can just come to the VIP, which is $797, or you do the $497. You want to just come for the general sessions. Jim Hetherington is going to be there. Linda McBee is going to be there with her nutritional products. And then Mama Mo is going to be there as well. And you'll be able to meet everybody in person. And you'll make some of these relationships will be family, like long-lasting relationships. So as we just close everything out, I want to, if you are in the chat, you have a question, I want to give you the opportunity to share that question. I'm just going to kind of keep it casual here to close out with our incredible experts panels, people that we have here. I'm going to sit and let's close it out and make it real for people as they depart tonight. And I know I'm saying a lot here, but tomorrow night we're going to cover self-discovery. And so while we're closing out, I'll grab some of these links and put them in the chat. And we want you to be back for tomorrow night, because self-discovery is a big thing. We can forego, especially when we get to midlife, we can start to, we settle, we stop the self-discovery. So we'll talk about that tomorrow night. But let me go back to everyone here just for, whatever you want to share. The floor is yours for whatever, a couple minutes here, 3 minutes, whatever you got. So whoever wants to chime in.
I'll let the ladies go first.
Ladies first.
My final thoughts are, in those uncertain times, I just keep saying it because it's been such a repeat in my life, is to feel the fear and to do it anyways. Like, to me, that is just like on repeat, because every single time on the other side of fear is everything. In those uncertain times, like, we just got to move. We got to take action. We got to move forward. There's a stirring within your soul. That thing that you think is fear, that anxiety feeling, that's a stirring within your soul to tell you that there's something out there, something that is more. And you're going to have that within you. And just be in that state of regret and uncertainty until you step out of that fear and just take one step at a time. Don't look at the final destination. Just look right in front of your face, one day at a time, and just keep moving forward.
Fantastic.
So I attended virtually the last time, and it was so amazing and a wow experience for me that I reached back to Austin and I said, I would like to figure out how I might be able to help you, because I don't want people to feel like, oh, I'm tired of sitting, and get up and break that concentration and go out of the room, or I have a headache, or I have that anxiety. I'd like to be there so I can help them through that, give them a candy to address that issue so that they can move through that block that is keeping them from moving forward. Because all it is a fear, but in our body, we categorize it to an ailment. And it keeps us stuck, not just here, but in our everyday life. I see it every day. And so that's why I'm here. If you send me and you register online prior, you will actually get candies in the mail. I walk you through on how to take them, but I can't do that if you wait till the last minute. Because and depending upon where you are, I would try to keep it to the United States, because it costs
right. Keep it in the continental U.S. And you got some amazing products. I've tried them, and I love. And I was amazed at those. So, but it's that wellness that you're creating. Your journey was much more than that product, but that product had a lot to do with it. And actually, I got another surprise for people here, and I got to make sure I pull this up. But
so Linda, I was so thrilled when Austin was like, oh my gosh, I would love to have them work through that health issue that breaks that concentration to the point where we totally get out of the moment of that last step. If you've never read 3 Feet from Gold, it is so powerful, because it's those last couple inches to get over that, as Monique talked about, fear, to break through. And that is debilitating and can be debilitating. And so helping, and the community is in the environment to really allow people to break through that. And so I'm so honored to be a part, to be there.
Yeah. So before we go to Jim, Mama Mo, I just want you to share a little bit about what do you have to say about what Linda just said, and then we'll go to Jim. And then
Well,
yeah.
I have her lozenges, so I know how absolutely incredible they are. And being someone who is into naturopathic medicine and plant medicine, and to be able to heal holistically, all of it is together. For you to be able to be a part, to bring that naturopathic way to allow people to step over that boundary, to be able to be in that naturally, be in that state of comfort, of relaxed mentally and physically and spiritually, so that they can have that moment of breakthrough. It's so important because it's all together. You know what I mean? Our bodies trigger us, that's what the somatic healing journey is all about, is our body tells us. And what we like to do is we like to shove down the symptoms because they're scary, because it's uncertainty, because of the fear of it, and we want it to go away. But what we need to do is we need to allow it to come to the surface so that we can go through the motions, so we can have that moment of breakthrough. And so to have your products and to have you there to be a part of that is going to be that little special addition to it, because I know how incredible those products are. I know what your purpose is, and I know how much it goes hand in hand with what we're doing. And just to have both you and Jim there this time is going to be absolutely incredible, because you two are going to bring a whole different dynamic, a whole different energy to the space. And so I'm excited to see what that dynamic and that energy is, and what kind of breakthroughs with all of your energy and everything that's going to happen, because it's going to be magical. Each journey is different, and to be able to partake in each one of those journeys is a special gift.
Yes, absolutely. And Linda's going to sponsor, and Jim, we're going to go over to you now, because I know both of you are going to be a big part of this. And so, Jim, what are your final thoughts here tonight as we round things out?
Yeah, well, my final thoughts is I can't wait to get down and meet Linda and find out about these candies. You got me so intrigued. I'm like you, Mama. I'm always looking for things that that we can do naturally. So I'm looking forward to that. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I was thinking there was a lot of talk about a three. It's amazing. So many of the tragic things that come into our lives start with D, right? Disease, divorce, depression, and a lot of it is environment. I think I've seen it in the comment. I know we've talked a little bit about environment and the value of it, and we talked about all that. And I can't help but think, this whole week that you're doing here, Austin, I think is really amazing. I think it's fantastic, and I think it's really needed, because we need to. Part of the self-care is just understanding our environment, where we are, and recognize that one of the leading causes to a lot of depression is when we get depleted mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. When those 4 areas of our life get depleted, it's only natural for our brain to just go spastic. We want to run and hide. We want to just duck out. We want to, check out. And so I think what you're doing here is so valuable and so needed right now. And so I just wanted to encourage those listening to have a look at your environment, because that's so vital. Let's look at your physically. What are you doing? Are you getting good rest? Are you looking after yourself physically? Emotionally, what are you doing to feed yourself and to take care of those voices that are trying to speak to you? Spiritually, what are you doing to get yourself grounded and so on? And then think about your environment. Do you know your brain takes 25% of the calories that we consume every day? So if we're not eating well, this isn't getting fed, because our main gut will take it's a pig. It'll take all the calories and won't send any up here. So if we're not eating properly, we're naturally going to we're setting ourselves up for failure. So I think what's happening I can't wait to see the progress up
Yeah,
until
me
Friday.
too.
It's just going to be phenomenal what goes on here.
Yeah,
But
me too.
just just those elements in our environment, taking a list of those, taking inventory, looking how we're looking after ourselves in those, start correcting our environments and doing something. So I want to encourage people over the next 24 hours, do something in all those areas. Do one thing in those areas. Look at your rest, look at what you're eating, what are you feeding yourself, look at your spiritual life, and see a turnaround.
Very well said. I had a thought, but the one thought that I had, if you go to Sedona, Arizona, they have a thing called the triple whammy. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. Has anybody heard of that?
No.
Triple whammy. So the triple whammy is that when you go to Sedona, just being there, we're talking about environment. You go there, you want to change your job, your relationship, and where you live all at once. Like complete life reset. Like I'm changing it all, and I'm changing it tomorrow. Now that might be relevant for some people, but the invitation is to look at these areas, like Jim is saying, and why don't you think of it like a dance? That tomorrow we're going to get into self rediscovery, I call it. What's important to you? Oh, here's what I wanted to say. And there's a reason why we did self-care on Monday, because there's an old statistic, and I don't know if it's still there, but I believe it's there. And I can feel the energy of a Monday. My Mondays are not what they used to be when I'm in corporate. So I don't have to go show up at the office, right? But I can feel the energy of a Monday. Like I can feel people's energy. And there was a thing where more people died at 9 o'clock, or had a heart attack, it was, I think, at 9 o'clock on a Monday than any other time. And this all goes hand in hand with this life reset. How often are we forcing ourselves to do stuff that we don't want to do in the name of something where we don't really we're not attached to anymore, where we haven't revisited this belief that we have to drive, we got to stick, and that's relevant. But if you show up, but if you're having heart trouble because you're going to work on a Monday, like, please, let's push the reset button like way earlier downstream, because your health, your purpose, your family, your love. Jim, I didn't hear you mention money in there, but it's interesting that you didn't, and I'm sure there was a reason for that. So of course the money's important, but gosh, it's our energy, our health, our love first, right? Our spiritual life. So great insights. I just want to get this out there because I mentioned this. We have this journal here. There's only 5 of them right now. This is the 5th one. And I just wanted to offer this to anybody who gets their VIP ticket. I will gift this to you. It's made of wood. It even just feels good to hold it. I mean, the wood is because it's a natural substance, right? Speaking about when Dave was saying, rub your hands together. So it's one of a kind. Get free, stay present, move forward, which is our motto here. That's for anybody who gets a ticket for the VIP. First time Flashpoint attendee, I'll give you that. You get other stuff too, but I wanted to highlight that to kind of, if somebody wants to do that. So that's all we have tonight. I'm going to end with the video here that we shared. So for people who may be joining this for the first time, I am grateful, honored, humbled to share this space the way we're doing it, making it public. We're not hiding it behind the curtain. We're making it public. The links are shareable. I don't know how long we'll keep them up. We'll see. We might put it into a playlist, put it into a package for people. I'm not sure yet. But what I do know is that the videos are up. Monday's video is up. Now Tuesday's video is up. We're going to be back tomorrow, Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern with Self Rediscovery. We'll be back Thursday, and we'll hit creativity and then final decision. So nothing but love for you. Thank you so much for being here. We'll see you tomorrow night at 7 p.m.
A new road awaits you. What would your life reset look like? How would you go from feeling stuck, stagnating, lacking clarity? Maybe you feel like you simply plateaued and you know you need to make a change? What area most requires you to push that reset button? I want to invite you to journey with us over the next 5 days for the Life Reset 5-Day Challenge. Each day we're going to stream live at 7 p.m. and feature a new topic to help you cultivate that life reset. First, we're going to start with self-care on Monday. On Tuesday, we're going to find out what's holding us back, what are the challenges in dealing with uncertainty. Wednesday, day 3, is going to feature self-rediscovery. What does it mean to get to know yourself again? What's important to you? Day 4, we're going to help you cultivate creativity to get those creative juices flowing again. Day 5, and finally, we're going to help you cultivate a new decision and push that life reset button. Imagine what life could be if you simply take the plunge and join us for the Life Reset 5-Day Challenge.